It began like any other evening. The kind of night no one in Rachel Booth's small town would have thought twice about, until she was gone. Rachel Booth was 29 years old, a devoted mother of two, and by all accounts the kind of person who anchored the lives of those around her. Friends described her as dependable and gentle. Her sister once said she was the glue that held everything together. She worked part-time at a library, baked with her children, and volunteered at her church. There was nothing reckless about her, nothing chaotic, nothing that hinted at the storm to come. On the evening of June 12, 2012, Rachel slipped on a light jacket, picked up her phone and keys, and told her husband, Mark, that she was heading out to buy milk. The corner store was just 5 blocks away. A 20-minute errand, nothing more. The kids needed cereal for the next morning. It was the sort of ordinary task that barely deserved to be remembered. Except, it became the last confirmed act of Rachel Booth's life as anyone knew it. The last sightings. Neighbors later recalled seeing her on the street. One remembered her waving to a child on a porch. Another thought she was speaking on the phone, though records later showed no outgoing calls. At 7:48 p.m., she left home. By 7:55 p.m., a neighbor spotted her walking toward the store. At 8:03 p.m., the cashier saw her step inside and glance toward the refrigerator case. But then, nothing. No receipt. No purchase. No clear memory of her leaving. And the store's CCTV system, infuriatingly, had been broken for weeks. Her phone went dark at 8:07 p.m. for minutes after she was last seen alive. And after that, silence. Panic at home. At first, Mark Booth assumed Rachel had lingered, maybe chatting with a friend. But as the minutes stretched into hours, unease became dread. By 9 p.m., he was dialing her phone repeatedly. By 10 o'clock, his worry had escalated into panic. By midnight, he had called the police. The next morning, the Booth home was unrecognizable. What should have been a school day filled with backpacks and cereal bowls was instead chaos. Phone calls, police at the door, and neighbors already gathering outside. The town reacts. In a small town, news travels like fire. By dawn, Rachel's disappearance was all anyone spoke about. By noon, missing person flyers were taped to grocery store windows, nailed to telephone poles, and pinned to bulletin boards. Search parties swept through alleys, empty lots, and wooded patches. Yet they found nothing. No purse. No jacket. No phone. Not even a footprint out of place. It was as if Rachel had walked off the edge of the earth. Who was Rachel Booth? To understand the shock, you have to understand Rachel. She wasn't someone who lived dangerously or secretly. She loved her children, kept her house tidy, and filled photo albums with snapshots of birthday parties and holiday mornings. She lived a structured, predictable life. And yet, as in so many disappearances, whispers soon began to circulate. Was she unhappy? Had she been hiding something? Or had someone been watching her, waiting for the moment when her routine left her exposed? The first theories. Police considered 3 possibilities. 1. Voluntary disappearance. People sometimes choose to walk away from their lives. But Rachel had left behind her wallet, her children, her entire world. Nothing suggested planning. 2. Accident. Could she have been struck by a vehicle? Collapsed somewhere nearby? Search parties ruled this out. There was no trace of an accident. 3. Abduction. The most chilling possibility. Someone could have intercepted Rachel on her walk home. But why her, and why then? The search for evidence. Detectives started with the obvious, retracing her last steps. Bloodhounds followed her scent from her house to the store. But outside the corner shop, the trail ended abruptly, as if she had vanished into thin air. Witnesses offered fragments of memory. A teenage boy said he saw Rachel with her phone pressed to her ear. The cashier insisted she entered the store but wasn't sure if she bought anything. A woman 2 blocks away swore she heard a car door slam around 8:10 p.m. The pieces didn't fit, and the broken cameras meant the crucial minutes were lost forever. Police focus. Naturally, detectives looked first at Mark Booth. Statistically, the spouse is the most likely suspect in disappearances. But Mark's grief seemed genuine. He had no financial motive, no history of violence, no affair to hide. His alibi, watching TV at home with the kids, was thin, but investigators couldn't disprove it. Attention shifted outward. Co-workers described Rachel as reliable. Friends remembered her laughter. Yet her sister recalled something troubling. Rachel had mentioned, twice, feeling as though someone was following her. She'd laughed it off, but the detail now loomed ominous. The SUV. Technology offered little. No useful phone pings after 8:07 p.m. No financial activity. No cameras, except one. A traffic camera captured a dark SUV speeding down a side street at 8:11 p.m., just minutes after Rachel was last seen. The image was blurred, the license plate unreadable. Investigators never identified the vehicle. False leads. As the case gained media traction, tips poured in. A trucker claimed he saw Rachel at a rest stop 60 miles away. False. Someone swore she boarded a bus in the city. Surveillance showed otherwise. Each lead wasted hours, sometimes days, and hope thinned with each dead end. Fear in the community. Rachel's disappearance rippled outward. Parents stopped letting children walk alone. Women carried pepper spray on errands. The phrase, "she went out for milk," became a chilling shorthand for vanishing without reason. Rachel had done nothing dangerous. She hadn't been reckless. She was simply running an errand millions of people run every single day. And yet, she was gone. The case grows cold. As days turned to weeks, vigils were held, candles flickered in the summer dusk, and Rachel's smiling face stared down from posters. But no answers came. The ordinary had turned haunting, and the silence around her absence felt like a wound in the fabric of the town itself. What had happened to Rachel Booth in those missing minutes? The investigation was far from over. But already, one truth was clear. Rachel Booth's disappearance wasn't just a mystery. It was a shadow cast over every ordinary life. The lingering mystery. By the second week of Rachel Booth's disappearance, the mood in her small town had shifted from panic to dread. The posters on lampposts began to curl under the sun. The search parties dwindled. But the fear never faded. It clung to the air, a constant reminder that someone, somewhere, knew exactly what had happened that night. Police take charge. Detectives classified Rachel's case as suspicious almost immediately. Too many details contradicted the idea of a woman simply choosing to walk away. Rachel had no history of mental illness, no financial withdrawals, and no record of secret planning. She had left behind her children, the one fact investigators and family agreed she would never have done willingly. Her husband, Mark Booth, endured relentless questioning. Detectives revisited his timeline again and again. He told the same story each time. He stayed home with the children, waiting for Rachel to return. When she didn't, he grew uneasy, then frantic. Mark's distress seemed real, but investigators knew statistics. In missing person cases, the spouse is often the first suspect. Rumors swirled in the town, fueled by whispers and side glances. Every gesture Mark made in public, every tear, every expression, was scrutinized by neighbors and strangers alike. Witness statements and the vanishing trail. The timeline remained stubbornly narrow. 7:48 p.m. Rachel leaves home. 7:55 p.m. A neighbor sees her walking. 8:03 p.m. The store clerk recalls her entering. 8:07 p.m. Her phone goes silent. At 8:11 p.m. a dark SUV races past a nearby traffic camera. After that, Rachel's trail disappears completely. Dogs followed her scent from her home to the store, then circled aimlessly outside. It was as if she had stepped off the sidewalk into thin air. A teenage boy insisted he saw her holding a phone to her ear. A woman nearby swore she heard a car door slam and muffled voices around 8:10 p.m. None of it formed a complete picture. Theories take shape. With no hard evidence, detectives and the public leaned on theories. 1. Voluntary disappearance. Could Rachel have simply walked away from her life? It was possible, but unlikely. She left her children, her wallet, her entire identity behind. Those who knew her dismissed the idea. 2. Accident. Had she fallen, been struck by a car, or collapsed somewhere nearby? But the extensive searches, yards, alleys, drainage ditches, turned up nothing. 3. Abduction. The most terrifying explanation. Had she been forced into a vehicle? Was the dark SUV more than coincidence? Investigators leaned toward foul play, but without witnesses, cameras, or evidence, the case remained maddeningly unsolved. Media frenzy and online speculation. Rachel's disappearance hit headlines quickly. Local papers called her case the Milk Run Mystery. Television crews descended on the quiet streets. Reporters lingered outside the Booth home, pressing neighbors for details, hunting for soundbites. Then the case migrated online. True crime forums dissected every timeline detail. Social media amplified rumors. Was Mark involved? Did Rachel have a secret life? Could she have been stalked? For Rachel's family, the exposure was double-edged. On one hand, it kept her story alive, reaching thousands of strangers who might spot her face. On the other, it opened the door to cruel speculation. Strangers accused her husband. Others suggested Rachel had run away. The family lived in limbo, not only waiting for answers, but also fighting against the distortions of her story. The family's struggle. For Rachel's parents, the waiting was unbearable. Every day without answers felt like another day stolen. For Mark, the dual burden of raising 2 children and living under suspicion was crushing. He became reclusive, rarely leaving the house except for necessities. The children, too young to fully understand, asked questions that no adult could answer. Why wasn't Mommy coming home? Where had she gone? The hardest part was the uncertainty. Without a body, there was no closure. Without proof of life, there was no solid hope. Every knock at the door, every unexpected phone call carried the potential to change everything, or nothing at all. Unsettling clues. One detail haunted investigators. Rachel's sister recalled her saying, on 2 separate occasions, that she felt like she was being watched. Rachel had brushed it off with nervous laughter, insisting it was probably nothing. But in hindsight, it felt chilling. Was someone stalking Rachel in the weeks before her disappearance? Was the SUV not random at all, but part of a deliberate pattern? If Rachel had been targeted, detectives needed to know by whom. But searches into her background revealed no jealous exes, no feuds, no obvious threats. She was, by all accounts, ordinary. And perhaps that was what made her disappearance so terrifying. It could happen to anyone. The broader pattern. Rachel's case is not unique. Each year, thousands of adults vanish under mysterious circumstances. Some are found, alive or deceased. Many are never traced. The fragility of normal life is what makes cases like Rachel's resonate. She wasn't wandering into danger. She wasn't leading a double life. She wasn't reckless. She was simply buying milk. If Rachel Booth could vanish, anyone could. The lingering legacy. As months stretched into years, Rachel's case grew colder. Detectives revisited it periodically, checking new databases and testing evidence with updated forensic technology. But no breakthrough ever came. The dark SUV remains unidentified. The broken cameras remain a bitter twist of fate. The silence after 8:07 p.m. remains absolute. Rachel Booth vanished during a simple trip for milk, leaving her children, family, and community with unanswered questions. Her disappearance remains a haunting reminder of life's fragility. Vigils continue, her name is spoken, and awareness keeps her memory alive. Share Rachel's story to help keep her case in the public eye, discuss theories, and raise awareness. Subscribe for more true crime mysteries, hit the notification bell, and join the conversation, because every share, comment, and view brings us one step closer to the truth.